17 years old, you don't have an ex-boyfriend?
No.
Really?
Sutter, guys don't look
That's
at me
shocking.
like that. I'm like,
yeah, absolutely, guys look at you like that.
No.
Amy, you're absolutely beautiful.
Oh my god, no.
I'm obviously talking to you because I'm a very big fan of your films. And,
thank you.
And the reason I say that is I love your filmmaking and what you do in terms of the style and look and like the stories you tell. And the fact that you're not hammering home things like style. Like, it's all very natural-esque. And I'm wondering, where does that come from? Did you always want to be a filmmaker? Is that...
I always wanted to tell stories. I mean, my mom wrote short stories when I was a kid. My grandfather was a painter who made a living doing commercial art. He did book covers for mostly Agatha Christie, like every sort of Agatha Christie reprint from around 1960 to 1980 he did. And he also on the side would do movie posters sometimes. A lot of times it would be sort of like the French reprint, but I found old posters that he did for versions of Papillon and Escape from Alcatraz and Deliverance, and I don't know that he was proud of that work. I think he saw it as sort of like that's what he did for money, you know, to put food on the table, but he saw himself as a serious artist. But consequently, I was doing cartoons when I was a kid. I loved just drawing and telling stories, and then eventually got into filmmaking later.
Does drawing background still play, as in do you storyboard everything on your own now?
I don't storyboard on my own, no, but I mean I do, like, images are really important. Like, you know, my parents have a darkroom in their house. My dad was always doing photography, my sister does photography. So I mean I love, you know, I love strong imagery. And I think that the photographs ultimately that really felt most kindred to sort of what just appealed to me were like William Eggleston photos and Stephen Shore photos, things that felt, you know, maybe a little sloppy at first glance or a little more natural, not as formal and composed, but it was that strangely had an integrity to them, or the subject matter of the image was more democratic, where it doesn't say look here at this, feel this, but you sort of are able to have your own reaction to it, which is a little more blurry.
Yeah. I've seen your films at Sundance now, and you seem to have established a home there, so to say. Is that, I just want to ask about Sundance because I love it, but I want to ask, is it, for your sake, is it all that it's cracked up to be in terms of the place for independent filmmakers to bring their films and, you know, find a community and break out, so to say?
I mean, it's, you know, it's an amazing place. I mean, the Sundance Institute, you know, which runs like the screenwriting labs and the filmmaking labs, is a very utopian place where you really, in a bubble, can work on your script and try to make it as good as you can without the external pressure of sort of, you know, financing or stars or distribution or anything like that. And then the festival, you know, every year there's a lot of the very best American independent and international films are there. A lot of people go there to party. A lot of people go there because it's a marketplace and to do business. And in that way, it's, you know, it is what it is. But there were really great films there, and I've met some of my really good friends, you know, at that festival. And it's a really great place. It just champions great filmmaking, which I get excited about.
Yeah. Well, congrats on getting there. I mean, that.
Oh, thank you.
Being that is the place where I found your films. There's something sort of special about the connection of everything.
Yeah.
And I hope you keep coming back.
Yeah, no, I hope I do too. I mean, what really excites me, like as someone I've been going for a long time, and sometimes I'll go, you know, just covering it for like Filmmaker magazine or something, is the newness, is the new excitement. Like I didn't know Ryan Coogler before I went to Sundance this year. I knew of him because Octavia Spencer, who was in Smash, was doing his movie, but I got to see his movie and was knocked on my ass, you know, and he's like a beautiful, lovely human being. And you know, like Colin Trevorrow, I didn't know him before Sundance year before, and then I saw Safety Not Guaranteed, and it's like those are people I met because of that festival and because I'm a film nerd, I'm a film fan, and I went and saw their movies and loved them. So.
Well, where did you first meet Michael and Scott, who wrote the script for Spectacular Now, and how did this script end up, you know, in your hands, so to say?
I met them pretty soon after Sundance 2012, after Smashed. You know, I knew of them obviously, but
yeah, well, there were another Sundance sort of fame, glory moment of I was there for 500 Days of Summer, fell in love with it, and the same thing with Smashed. I'm like, you know, it's one of those like dreams of if these people could meet and work on a project, here it is. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was Smash that brought us together. It was they or some of the producers on Spectacular Now saw Smash, and they, you know, basically said we really like it and we'd love for you to read the script. And I was excited to read the script. I mean, I respected Scott and Mike, and I'd heard that Tim Tharp's novel was amazing. So,
is that? I mean, one of the topics I want to get into a little bit is sort of the themes of your story, which is alcoholism, which I remember, and the reason I'm remembering this and bringing it up is because I want to, for the sake of at Sundance, you said that that's not something you actively have sought out, so to say, but has ended up, at least in your most recent two films. how is that what happens when you're reading the script and you're going, okay, I'm sort of connecting with these elements? Is that one of them that sort of at least makes a connection to you in a deeper sense?
I mean, Spectacular Now, I think I was aware, someone had mentioned to me, oh yeah, the character, there's kind of this drinking thing. I don't know if that's going to weird you out or something because you've done that before.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know, it depends on the approach. And honestly, you give one script to like 5 different filmmakers, you'll get 5 different films. For me, I mean, drinking the way that the main character in Spectacular Now drinks, it's part of who he is, but it's not the defining feature of who he is. I mean, I think I'm very interested in the sort of elaborate system of coping mechanisms that people have created for themselves to deal with the everyday pain of being alive. Whether that's like numbing out to TV or drugs,
right.
or just watching tons of movies,
right.
or the ways that we don't deal with things and we deflect and
right.
put things on the back burner. I'm fascinated by that, and that to me is part of who we are. That's scar tissue. It's kind of what makes character. So I don't know anybody I spend enough time with. Eventually, I kind of learn about the stuff that they're dealing with, and I find that really fascinating, I guess.
Well, I love the way you handle the characters, and the drinking is, and I keep bringing this up because it's such a, I guess, key part for what I see in your films, but it's not overdone. It's as exactly as you're saying, and then it's there, it's part of the character, but it's handled in a really delicate way where you address it, and yet you don't have to sort of say, like, look and worry about this and think about this.
Yeah,
So
I kind of, like when I hear a lot of my favorite documentarians, like whether it's like the Maysles brothers or Fred Wiseman or whoever, like there's kind of that documentary approach of just don't judge your characters. Just don't judge them. Just look at them, let them be the best advocate for themselves, and don't judge them. And it's kind of easy for me. It's hard. I mean, I don't feel like I'm in a place to judge any of these characters because I've been a total dipshit in my life and done profoundly stupid things and self-destructive things. So, I mean, I can see myself in all of the characters that are in the movies I make.
Yeah. Well, I mean, specifically with Miles Teller's character, you balance a guy who is a total jerk and who's a guy that we should hate, but you make him lovable. You make him that sort of like super popular guy from high school that we all wanted to hate but still love, and then explore why we feel that way about this character in a very unique way.
I mean, I think there's this thing that happens oftentimes, maybe in like studio development, where the goal is to make a neat and tidy narrative with neat and tidy characters where they're easily explicable, like where you understand exactly how they are because this one thing happened when they were a kid, and by the end of it they find this other thing, and then they're changed for the better. And I think like there's this idea that it's like this perfectly made sneaker or hamburger that's like a product that I think they're missing the central point, which is that like what films need, what music needs, is a relationship with a listener or an audience member. And there needs to be something a little, there needs to be dangling threads. There needs to be some omissions. And I think characters need to be a little contradictory, actually, and not always easily explained. I think that's how you get people to have a relationship with the character that goes beyond the end of the film, where they still can live on, perhaps because they didn't figure everything out, actually because they did something profoundly stupid. I've seen 5 Easy Pieces, 30 times, and it's like, at the end of that movie, like Jack Nicholson does something kind of like minorly deplorable, and I don't know why he does it, but it haunts me. It still haunts me, and it's still alive in my mind. And if at the end of the movie he was just fixed and everything was fine, that movie wouldn't still live on in my imagination.
Right. Is that ultimately the goal of your filmmaking, and that you kind of want to leave people with this feeling where they're not told a direction, but at least given an idea of what they should be thinking?
I think the thing that I was thinking about recently was I like emotional experiences. When I go into an art museum or listen to an album or see a movie, I like feeling something deeply. It's easier for me to see it, or when I listen to an album, when I listen to like Blood on the Tracks, or I See a Darkness or something, when I hear an album that just makes me feel something deeply, I'm like, oh my God, I want to go into this space. I want to actually have it on vinyl and just chill, like go into that place, and it puts me in a mood. And I think the films that I like best, I'm not really watching them. I mean, there's the equivalent of like a beach read in a movie where it's like, I just want to have a fun ride, and just see a story, kind of like ride a roller coaster ride. But I think the movies that really stay with me are the ones where I've felt something deeply, and I think that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is make people feel something that actually stays with them.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing I just want to ask is, what are the sort of biggest inspirations cinematically for you, in terms of directions you've gone in stylistically? What are the films you love that you could be like, this is what has defined me?
Whew, man. I mean, it's different. I mean, I'm pretty omnivorous in the movies that I love. Film by film. I mean, there's different ones. I mean, I can say for Spectacular Now, where, you know, I was in Minneapolis recently and we showed the movie, and after the screening, this woman came up to me and she had her 14-year-old daughter who said that she had just taken a summer film class and they were learning about genre. And she was like, we were learning about, you know, action films and horror films, and what genre is the Spectacular Now? I was like, I don't know, what do you think? And like me and this girl were debating, is it like a teen movie? Is it coming of age? Is it romance? Is it drama? And I guess the films that were meaningful for me, they're kind of in the galaxy of the Spectacular Now, were movies like Last Picture Show, Splendor in the Grass, Kes, 400 Blows, Over the Edge, River's Edge, Say Anything. Movies where show me love, like movies where it's like they made me feel something deeply. I love the characters and the relationships, and it just so happens that they are 17 or 12 or 21, and it's not reductive or simplistic because they're younger. It's actually just as complicated as if they were 50 years old and 3 times divorced.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.